Okay.
Perfect. Great. So welcome back from the break, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, Dr. Gloria Antwi-Botchway, who's a lecturer in the Department of Mathematics at the University of Ghana. So at this institution, Gloria earned a BA in Mathematics and Philosophy, an MPhil in Mathematics, and a Ph.D. in Mathematics. So this was no small feat. So Gloria is the first female to obtain a PhD in mathematics from the University of Ghana. So wow, that's very impressive. And also, given that we're celebrating Albert Cox, it's a nice timing, basically. So Gloria, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kieran. Good morning, afternoon, and evening to everyone. I first of all want to say thank you to Nira for this invitation and to LMS for this invitation. It really means a lot to me, and I'm honored to be here today, especially at this time that we are celebrating 100 years of Albert Cox PhD. It's a good time to do that. So, like Kieran rightly said, my name is Gloria Botchway, and I'm from Ghana. I currently work as a lecturer at the Department of Mathematics at the University of Ghana. My talk today will be on breaking boundaries, and I'm going to talk about my journey in mathematics and how I am on a mission to inspire the next generation of African women in STEM. So an overview of what I'm going to talk about, like I mentioned earlier, will be from my early background to where I am now, and then what some of the things that I'm involved in to nurture the next generation of African women in STEM, and then hopefully in mathematics as well. So I'll start off with my personal journey from where I started from. So I was raised, I've lived a lot of my life in Ghana. I was raised in my early stages, I was raised in a village up northeast of Ghana. I grew up there in the early stages. I had quite a zigzag of education because my mom was traveling from place to place for change of work. So my mom is a retired teacher, and during her schooling and work days, we had to move from one place to the other. So I ended up attending about 7 schools in all. By the time I was in my ninth grade, let me put it that way. Yes, I had been in about 7 schools, and that in itself was a challenge because whenever we moved to a different school, the school would have been either ahead or behind where I was coming from, and so it was a bit difficult getting stabilized when it came to learning. As a result of that, science wasn't my favorite subject at all because for the other subjects, it was okay. But when it came to science, science is a lot. There's a lot in there. And whenever we moved to a different school, then the school will either be ahead, or if it's behind, it's fine. But usually they were ahead. And we're dealing with topics that I may not have seen before. And I wouldn't be the reason for them to go back anyways. So I didn't like science as a subject. So that has been my story from beginning. I've also had quite a hard life because I remember that my mom had to go to school. We're living with her. So when she had to pursue higher education, and I'll talk about that because that was a lot of motivation for me. When she had to pursue higher education, she left us with some relatives um, who whom it was difficult to make ends meet. So at a point in time, though my mom and my dad did not like the idea, I had to hawk to make ends meet at home. This was because the it was difficult. So, I mean, that was the only option we had at that time. So fast forward, I finished my lower, that's junior high school, and then proceeded to the senior high school. At the senior high school, I didn't, like I said, because I didn't like science, I didn't pursue science as a course, as my major. So I was offering business with my electives being accounting, business management, costing, and then elective mathematics. So that was where my mathematics, let me say rigorous mathematics started from. But prior to that, I've always loved anything that has to do with calculations, or when it has to do with counting, or when I had to calculate something, then I loved it. So in my mind, when I got to secondary school, what I wanted to become was an accountant because I wanted to deal with money. And so I wanted to be an accountant. I didn't see mathematics coming my way. But a teacher in my school who was teaching mathematics um, began telling me that, oh, I see you becoming a lecturer in mathematics. And I vehemently opposed that because my parents are teachers, and so I didn't want to become a teacher too. Usually, I think for most teachers, they want to now see their children becoming other professions other than teaching. So I had that also at the back of my mind, and so I didn't want to be a teacher, like to teach. But I loved mathematics and I was performing very well in it. So, well, still, I didn't decide to still do math. But after my secondary school, when I was entering into the university, I applied for business administration. Um, my second choice was mathematics and philosophy. And then I think economics. We had the choice to choose three courses. So I chose these three courses as my second choice. With the hope that I wasn't even going to go there because I was so sure I was going to get my course, which was the business administration. Especially after I had heard that there were people I had done better than who in grades who got the course. So I was looking forward to that. But unfortunately, I didn't get that. I wasn't offered my first choice, and I was instead offered my second choice. At first, I hesitated to go for it, but again, my mom mentioned that. I mean, like you love maths, so if you've been offered that, I don't think it's a bad idea. It's something you love already, so why don't you go for it? And so it wasn't difficult to, convince me. And then I had an elder brother who also um used to say that he wished he had done mathematics. So I think when he saw that I was offered mathematics, he was very happy and pushed that I go for it. Um, were there challenges at that point? Yes. Though I had the support of my family, I think that immediately I mentioned that I was going to do mathematics when people asked about what course I was going to offer in the university. The first impression was don't go. Um, so people now began to ask, why would you want to do mathematics as a woman? I mean, why would you worry your head to do that? And then I've had other people also talking about the school that I was going to. My school happens to be one of the schools that mathematics is, uh, you know, seen to be difficult at the University of Ghana. So they would say, have you heard of this particular lecturer in this school? Why would you worry your head to go and do that? Why don't you go for something else other than that? But I think that I didn't want to wait another year to reapply to school. And well, I was okay in math. So mostly what I would say is, oh, I'm good at it. I love it and I'm good at it. So why not? And that spurred me on to continue to do it. So at the university, I offered mathematics and philosophy as a combined major, and that's what I completed with. Um, was there a point where I didn't want to go on? Yes. There was a point where I thought, should I even continue with mathematics? Because at a point I was a bit tired of the rigor that it brought to you, the learning and the challenging way it was. So I thought of dropping it along the way so that I can pursue sociology, which was one of my courses, and then philosophy. And I was giving myself 1,001 reasons why I should go and do those other courses other than mathematics. But truth is, I didn't have a flair for sociology, especially because it was reading. Anything that was a lot of reading wasn't something I wanted to do. So um, again, with encouragement from my parents and my siblings, I pursued the BA in mathematics and philosophy, and I completed. I came out even as the best graduating student in philosophy in the year that I finished. So that has been the push, family. Then, right after that, within about, I think, after my national service, which is a compulsory service that you render to the nation after your 4 years degree, I decided to pursue the master's. And I was looking at the option of traveling abroad to do that. So the truth is, I didn't even have the money to pay for application. So, well, I rested on promises from other people, which they didn't fulfill anyway. So, I said, well, if I'm not going out, I can equally do it here. So, I decided to take it and do it in my country. Um, just when I was about to do that, I had an opportunity abroad to do um, risk management, which is not mathematics anyway. So I had the opportunity of doing risk management, but I declined because I think I had decided that I wanted to do mathematics. And then I had also decided that I didn't need to travel to do that. So I decided to stay. Moreover, family came in, family in terms of beginning a nuclear family myself. So it was also part of the reasons why I decided to start. I remember some friends telling me, oh, but you can go ahead and then even if you're married, you can go along with your spouse. But for some reason, I just didn't want to go again. So I decided to stay in Ghana and do my MPhil in mathematics. Um, was it tough? Yes, it was because I was doing this alongside family. So I got married during my MPhil and had my first my second baby during my MPhil. Sorry, my first during my MPhil. So juggling pregnancy with marriage and then childbirth, caring for the child, and then working in the university at that time and also um, doing my studies. But somewhere, somehow, we sailed through it. And after that, of course, because I had been taken on as a assistant lecturer at that time at the university, I was kind of in line with what I wanted to do. So I have to go further to do my PhD in mathematics. And of course, at that time, that I was starting the PhD, I already had two children. So I said, well, I don't want to leave them. I want to be a part of their lives as well, their growing stages. So, I decided to stay still, which is a typical me anyway. So I enrolled in the PhD program and then went on to do it. It was difficult at first because I enrolled late because it was even difficult to get someone to supervise me from here. But um, my supervisor came along. He visited my department from the US, and then he was very okay to supervise me in distance. And then I also had some supervisors within as well. So I started my PhD journey. Now, I knew that in all of this, I knew where I was going and I wanted to get there. I remember when it was during my undergraduate, I told some of my friends and colleagues and some seniors that I was going to be a lecturer in mathematics. And some of them laughed it off because this was a place where nobody has really, initially in the past, even people who did their masters, it took them a very long time to finish it. Not the usual 2 years. It really took them a long time to finish. They've been on it, the program, for a long time. So to say you want to go on, do your PhD, and then become a lecturer was quite laughable. But one thing that pushes me is, of course, I've mentioned the love for what I do. Like, I love mathematics. I don't see myself doing anything else. And then also, I wanted to prove a point that I can get there. I can do it. I can get there. And then I don't need to travel to do that. So these were the things. And so I told myself I would do that. So I went on to do the PhD, and then eventually I finished as the first female to graduate from the university in the history of the university with a PhD in mathematics. And so that's why I'm happy about uh, this time that this is being celebrated, because that's 100 years from Albert Cox. And I've eventually joined the League of Firsts, if I should put it that way. Um, so that has been my academic journey. These were some challenges in my journey, and these two pictures, which I'm sure you may have seen before, were two things that resonated with me along my journey, both in the MPhil and then in my PhD. That I had children and I still had to climb up both the academic ladder and then do other things as well. And whilst your male counterparts may not have necessarily have to do some of these things, but I had to do it. During the PhD, I had two more children, and so four children during the PhD. Um, it was not a joke, but I had support from family, especially my husband, my parents, and of course the children themselves, because there were times I had to leave them. My mom also was very instrumental, because um, she would make sure that I had done the things I needed to do, keeping me on my feet. My husband would keep me on my feet, asking about what I am doing, whether I've done my next presentation. Have I prepared? Have you done this? They were always on me, and they would hold the fort when I had to do these things. So these were some of the challenges that I had to go through. The academics itself wasn't cheap, and then the cultural challenges of being a female and wanting to do this. I remember even just at the undergrad level, just when I think during the time I had finished my first degree and I was doing the masters, I had someone tell me um, they couldn't even I mean, they couldn't see themselves having an engagement with me or speaking with me because I'm doing mathematics. Why would I do mathematics? It's enough to be a female and have completed university, but to do mathematics was another thing for them. So, you hear such things, and other ones as well. And family was a challenge in the sense that I had to, I was having children and caring for my family at the same time, having to do the PhD, the master's and the PhD. Okay. So now I would speak briefly about my research and then academics. So I've along the way, I've always like I've had an interest towards the applied mathematics, because for me, it made more sense to me personally to be able to use mathematics as a tool to solve real world problems. So I was geared towards the applied mathematics, and so my PhD, my thesis was on modeling blood flow through a stenosed artery. And so I used the Navier-Stokes equation, and then considered a different geometry from the usual, which was a hyperboloid of one sheet, to do that. So I started there was a budding interest in disease modeling. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to start the PhD earlier, but I wasn't getting a supervisor. So if I had, that would have been in disease modeling. Because I didn't, I attended some few conferences, and then also started self-learning in disease modeling to understand the spread of diseases. So in order to keep up with that, I started to supervise undergraduate students just to introduce them to that field of modeling, of disease modeling. I started to supervise some few students who were interested in it, and then in disease modeling for their final year project work. And I'm happy to say that some have gone on really high in this field, and I'm very proud of them. Then currently, my new fund, let me say, is population dynamics modeling in ecology. And so I've just recently been looking at predator prey modeling, and specifically, I did some work in predator cannibalism and prey defense and stuff like that. So that's what I've been looking at in population dynamics modeling. Um, that is quite a new area for me too, but we are ongoing in it. It's looking good and I love it. Um, then the medical image processing has been an area in my MPhil. I did something on wavelets decomposition, and then using wavelets and mathematical morphology to extract fingerprint features from a fingerprint image. So I had some background in that, some ideas in that. So during the PhD as well, I was also this was also an area that I was, eyeing and looking at and doing some work in. So I did some work in enhancing CT scans with cancer nodules uh, using wavelets and then mathematical morphology. So with regards to my research, this is the way I'm going. I eventually want to be in math bio and looking forward to taking up maybe a postdoc in that area. Okay. Then there were challenges that I faced during research on during all of these, especially when you find yourself in the kind of environment that I find myself. There are very unique challenges in there. First of all, was limited resources, which was a big thing for me. In terms of funding, help came. My university waived my fees, and then also Carnegie scholarship gave me, Carnegie Foundation gave me a scholarship as well. So I didn't have to think about a lot of things with regards to funding. Um, Software was something that was difficult to come by. One, because it was very expensive. In fact, the Carnegie scholarship I had was not even enough to buy just one software. I was using COMSOL multiphysics, which my supervisor introduced to me. And it wasn't something I could get easily. So I worked with it mainly when I traveled to for a research visit to his university. And then also another thing is access to data. Um, Down here it's quite difficult to get real data. It's so difficult. There are a lot of bottlenecks, but I think that things are getting better uh, because of the next point I'm going to talk about, which is the mentorship, challenges in mentorship and collaboration. It was difficult to find suitable mentors, like I mentioned, with modeling at that time. This was in 2017, thereabout. It was difficult for me to find a supervisor who would supervise me in that field, especially when I wasn't going to go to the person's school, but I mean my school. So it was a bit difficult. And then establishing collaborations was also a bit difficult. Um, Not at the moment, but during learning and research, during the learning period, it was. I remember that before finishing my PhD, someone introduced me to someone who worked in a research lab. I think the person wanted someone who was into modeling, mathematical modeling. And the person spoke well, highly of me. And this was one of my former students who has gone so up high in it. And the mentor was not willing. I don't know if it was because maybe I didn't have my PhD by then. Maybe that is the reason, but I don't know the reason. But the person just went cold and then that was it. But after my PhD, I think I've been able to establish quite a number of, you know, get in touch with a number of people who have been great mentors to me. I'll mention them at the appropriate time at the end of my slide. So this was a difficult phase. Probably things would have turned out differently if I had that at that time. Then also, of course, gender biases. There are even sometimes within your immediate environment people who felt like, what are you doing here? Why are you doing this? And then they sometimes look down, and I feel like sometimes it's because of the gender. Yes. So these things have been the challenges that I have faced along the way. Checking my time. Okay. So these have been challenges that I have experienced along the way. But things are better now, I would say, because like I said, I've been able to, establish some nice collaborations and mentorship. I'm learning from people who are ahead of me through mentorship. So now I go to the advocacy and mentoring. Because I didn't have much of this, it has been truly my passion. So outside of my work and research, I am looking at being able to empower the next generation. And one of the ways I'm doing that is through teacher training. So I work also on the side as not work, let me say I'm involved or committed to facilitating workshops that will empower the next generation. So this was a workshop, the pictures you see was a workshop that was held for teachers at the basic level. So these are teachers who teach mathematics at the basic level from about basic 1 to 6, which is divided into the upper and then the lower primary. And so the workshop was about integrating play-based learning in the teaching of mathematics. I know that not just in Ghana, but all over the world, maths has been an issue for a lot of people. And we have seen failure rates in it in major examinations. And I believe that integrating play into the foundational level is necessary to help with the foundational understanding of some of these basic concepts. So one of the things we did was integrating play-based learning into the teaching. And then we also looked at techniques for teaching some concepts in mathematics. An example that I gave them during that workshop was the symbol greater than or less than. So I think that even some of the teachers themselves were confused about this symbol. Yes. So some of them use their hands too. They will tell you that when you do this, that is greater than, when you do this, that is less than. But in actual sense, I mean, the symbol is just the symbol. It doesn't matter the orientation. So I showed them something and they were wowed by it. I told them that, okay, look at the symbol. So just considering one of them, like the first one, like this one, the first one. So now, if you pick the symbol, two lines meet at one point and opens at 2 points. So at the point where they meet, how many points or vertex do you have? They said one. Then I asked, at the other side, how many vertices do you have? They said two. Okay, so 2 points on one side, 1 point on the other side. So this is the rule or the trick. If you have a bigger number, let it be on the side where you have the 2 points, which is bigger than the 1 point. Then if you have a smaller number, let it be on the side where you have the 1 point. And that was it for them. They were so excited because a lot of them were confused even about it themselves. So how much more teaching it to younger children? And so one of them raised the hand and said, oh, then it doesn't matter how the symbol looks. And I said, yes, that's exactly the point I want to make, that the orientation doesn't matter. So far as you knew what it meant, then you are good to go. We also looked at that workshop at local play and its connection with some mass concepts. We have some very local play that children involved in Ghana that has so much connection with mathematical concepts. And so I laid some of those plays bare to them, and then they saw, and then we explored the various concepts that were at play in those play or games. Yes. So basically, what this program seeks to do was to focus on pedagogy and then shifting from rote learning. One thing I remember also was we did something on multiplication, and I showed them how to easily multiply by using the students in the class form two rows. Something as easy as a two times table can be done by forming two rows with the students. You call them in front, form two rows. And so two rows will mean you have several columns, but you always have two in front. So what we did was, so I shifted the first column in the two rows. Okay, so I shifted the first column, which is made up of just two people, and said, okay, so how many twos do we have? It's just one of them, so that is two times one, which is two. Then I moved the next two, and I said, okay, so how many twos do we have? And they all said two of the twos, so two times two, that is four. We move another two, two times three, six, and then they got the concept of multiplication, that we don't need to rote learn it. Once a child understood, so there I told them, if you do this for three, the child can pick up five, seven, eight, because they know that they just have to add on. So this was the team that the participants. We had about 50 participants for that training, and we are looking at expanding. So very soon, we'll be having another training, the second cohort, and we are looking at doing it for about 200 teachers. This was for 3 districts, so 200 teachers would mean a lot more districts involved. And of course, there will be ambassadors that will go out there to show their fellow teachers how things are being done. This will be held hopefully by the end of October or in November. So plans are in place to have this a second one. Then the next thing that I am into is also advocating for mother tongue mathematics education in Ghana, especially at the foundational level.
Uh,
Uh,
just uh, just warning, 35 minutes is up.
oh,
So if you want 5 minutes of questions, you can wrap up now, or you can wrap up.
okay, so let me quickly finish this up in like 5 minutes, and then that should be, if that's fine.
Yeah, sure. If you want some time for questions, you have 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things I'm involved in is um this app. Let me go straight to it. So this is an app that teaches mathematics in our native languages. So right now, at the moment, we are doing 4 languages, and we have piloted this. And in the initial pilot, students who have failed considerably in mathematics at the senior high level general examinations a couple of times. I have testimonials for some from some of them. So these are students who have failed in a row, 3 failures, 4 failures, but after using the app which teaches the concepts in their local native languages, they passed. And some of them have gone on to be in the tertiary education. So this is one thing that I'm advocating uh, uh, for. And this is how the app looks like. It teaches lessons in mathematics and concepts in it using the native language. Not that we are changing vocabulary, no, but we are explaining concepts in the native language. And this is working for a lot of people. We have had support from MasterCard Foundation to explore and expand this to other languages as well, and it's going fine. The last thing is a girls program that I'm involved in as well, and this is to ignite their passion in STEM. And so far, we have had 2 cohorts of this, and it has had great impact on them. It has improved their confidence, and then it has also made them it's been an eye opener for them, because we pick these girls from underserved schools and then bring them on the University of Ghana campus, have coding lessons for them, industrial visits, and mentorship sessions for them. These are some of the girls during recruitment and selection, and then when they came camping at the university, and some of our industrial visits as well. So for the future, I'm basically looking at what I call the Boundless Project, which is a broader impact through outreach. And this is just to sound home the quotes by Prof. Nira. that you don't need anybody's permission to be a mathematician. I'll add on to say you don't need anybody's permission to be a scientist. So this is what we want to drum home for places in the rural areas where they can't reach some of these things. I would like to briefly just acknowledge these few people: my university, the Carnegie Foundation, my supervisor, my family, Dr. Eric Techi. So these are people who have helped me and then held my hand one way or the other along the journey, and I'm grateful to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria, for that very nice talk. So one quick question.
Yes.
If there's any questions. So yeah, I mean, I guess being the first female getting a PhD from the University of Ghana, I mean, is it sort of, were you sad to hear that? Did you know that before before the Viva that you were going to be the first, or was it?
Yes. I knew that I was going to be the first. I knew it.
Okay, nice.
Yes.
Well, it's a great achievement. So let's thank Gloria again.
Thank you.